Okay, I'm going to count down from 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. Holland live for another Sports Refuge Podcast live stream. And of course, over the past few weeks, we've been doing a lot, just trying to stack them up and rack them up and try to get as many interviews as possible. So we'll have a continual flow of episodes and interviews. And of course, another episode that I've been wanting to do again, following up since the last time we had him on. He was one of our most popular episodes listened to, at least downloaded and clicked on. And I'm glad to have him back. He is former Delmar High School quarterback, former Towson University wide receiver, Shane Leatherbury. Shane, thank you for being on the podcast one more time. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. How have things been?
Oh, I appreciate you having me on. First off, I always love talking to you. But, everything's been good, taking it a day at a time, just trying to be where my feet are and control what I can control.
Oh, yeah. No, I completely understand that. That's all you can do. Sometimes the biggest thing you can do is just take one step at a time, and everything's in increments. The one thing I wanted to ask you was, since the previous episode that came out, I know there had to be a lot of feedback. I saw it was probably one of the most, I'm trying to think of the words, the social media terms, as they use them all the time. It was one of the most clicked on episodes and listened to as well. What was the feedback from that episode that you heard from everybody?
Everybody just liked the input, we great conversation, great things to hear from it. So pretty much that's what it was. It's just good things to hear on any episode of this podcast, just like all the other ones. But it's just great conversation, good questions being asked, and I did my best to answer them. But it was a good podcast, just
Thank
like the other.
And I'm glad to have you on. I always say that the podcasts are only as good as the guests that come on, and it would be, I guess, a failure on my part if I don't ask the best questions that make everybody as engaged, as interested as they can be.
Yes, sir. You do a great job too. Always
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I know, of course, being from a small town like Delmar, there's always a huge community bonding, community ties to it. What was it like growing up in a town like Delmar and just seeing how the community not only just rallied around not only the athletic part, but just everyone else in general?
Actually, I grew up in Salisbury, but I moved to Delmar middle school. But growing up in Salisbury, it was a lot more. It's a lot of schools you can go to. You can go to Bennett, White High, Parkside. So a lot of my friends were going to different schools and stuff like that. But then I transferred over. We moved to Delmar, and I transferred over there. And everybody went to one school. Friday nights, the town pretty much shuts down for football games. Everybody's at the football games. Everybody knows who the good players are. Everybody knows the coaches. Everybody knows what's going to happen, knows who you're playing. So it's like the camaraderie of the whole town. It's not just one team. It really is just one family, and you learn that quick when you get there. You roll through there on a Friday night, you're not going to know what's going on until you arrive at the stadium.
And I always talk about the run that you guys had to the state championship every time. And I remember following it, the fire truck ride all the way back into town, especially into once you hit across the border and that one plaza, the Food Lion Plaza. What was that like, especially seeing having that happen so many times with that whole run and any other time?
Yeah, I mean, when field hockey's got it all the time, football's got it all the time. When you see that, everybody lining up outside and everybody's out there cheering, it's nothing like it. And you can tell, like, everybody, Delmar really cares about everybody in that, everybody from that school, everybody from that town. That's a day that really everybody comes together and just shows how much they care about, any sport that's doing well, or even if they're not doing well, Delmar cares. So it's, that's a big deal to everybody.
While playing at Delmar, who would you think was the biggest rival for the Wildcats? I always heard Laurel. I didn't know if anybody else thought it was some other school, any other schools in the Henlopen South. Was it Indian River? Was it something else that other team that we haven't mentioned?
No, I mean, Laurel was the biggest, but every matchup in the Henlopen South pretty much was a rivalry. It wasn't. But Laurel being 7 miles down the road, you pretty much knew who you were playing against. So that was the biggest one, and that one came with the most grit to it, and everybody anticipated that one. That was always a big game. That was always a fun one. It brought out the best of everybody. It didn't matter if you were 0-9 and they were 9-0. And I think one year we played them, we were 8-1 or 8-0, and they were 1-8, and it was like 6-6 at halftime. It was a close game. It's crazy. It doesn't matter what your record is. Throw it out the window, as they say. You're gonna get your all from everybody.
And definitely, and I know that I don't want to gloss over your high school career, of course, being starting quarterback on that state championship team, and of course, it's interesting. You also punt return as well while quarterbacking as well. What was that like, especially trying to get a breather after coming off the field after returning the punt, and then getting behind center and trying to call next play?
Yeah, honestly, it's rough, and the worst part is if you return, you have a big return, and you get like a block in the back or something like that. Then you got to come to the huddle and try to call a play, and plays are never really that short. So you got a long play to call. I remember I played with my brother my junior year, and I used to go in the huddle and try to call a play, and I'll be mumbling because I was so tired. And he'd be like, "Man, what are you saying? Just say it." And I'm like, you got to tell somebody, man, just tell them what I said. Tell them what, because your brother's always gonna be hard on you. But somebody in that huddle heard me, but I didn't want to repeat myself because it's still going to be muffled. But it's tough. But a lot of the athletes from Delmar do it. They like their best athletes at quarterback. And shoot, there's been a lot of guys that did it before me and did it better than me, clearly. And, everybody, you want your best guy quarterback, you want the best guy punt returner, you want the best guy with the ball in his hands. And, people have been doing that a long time at Delmar. And it clearly pays off because, they keep winning.
What was it? How did learning the wing tee? I know that Coach Hearn used that a long time. What were some of the intricacies of that offensive style that you had to learn, and then how long did it take you to master that until all of a sudden it's second nature?
Well, for me, I don't think it took too long because as I was going up through the ranks, high school and going from a 9th grade, 10th grade. A lot of the quarterbacks in front of me, like KJ Trader, Skidder Ellis. I used to be the water boy when he was there, and he was really good and, carrying out fakes and pitching the ball and stuff like that. It was, it was easy. Once you saw them guys doing, you're kind of amazed, like, wow, that's all I got to do and it'll work. But, for me, it was, just trusting the people around me, trusting they're going to do their job. And once I got that, it all made sense. But just watching people before me, it made it pretty easy, honestly, because they did it so well. It was like, oh, if that's all I got to do, it's easy. And as long as you make it look like you don't have the ball, whoever has the ball doesn't have it, you're going to be good,
What is the, I guess, most deadliest part of that offense, especially the wing tee? I remember Coach Hoot Gibson at Bennett. He always talked about you always got to watch out for the fullback trap, and that was the biggest part of it. That would keep a defense at bay. But to you, what do you think is really the most dangerous part of that offense?
Yeah, that counterattack trap is dangerous, but to me, it's just that you don't know who has the ball. Like, you can watch film and you can see the cameraman kind of he can go 5-10 yards with the wrong person has the ball if you just carry out your fakes. And that was one of the main things in high school. Everybody just carries out the fakes. No matter who has the ball, you just act like you have it. Until you're out of the play, pretty much. So I think the fact of you don't know who has the ball, that's what kills people.
Yeah, I completely understand that. I know we had asked you last time who was one of the toughest athletes you played against, and I know you mentioned Jamie Jarman when he was playing at Indian River. who would you say is one of the best athletes you played with in high school? And I know we'll talk about on the college and at Towson as well, but going back to your Delmar times, who do you think was the best athlete you played with?
Played with after my junior year, definitely I would probably say it's going to be biased, but my brother. I mean, I love playing with him. We grew up together. Anytime, if it was a pass play, he said, just I'm going to be in the back of the end zone. I'm going to be somewhere. I'm just throw my hand up, just get it to me. And he was, the way he could move, the way he played offense, defense. I love the way he played it. And then even, if I was going against people, talking about people, older than me, but I still got to play with them. KJ Trader was another one. I mentioned him earlier. He was athlete in every sport, so it's hard not to mention him, being he got drafted in baseball, and he would go out and score 40 in basketball, and then he would, lead a team to a win on the football field. He was one of the craziest athletes, Delmar seen as well. But definitely who I played with, started with and everything like that, my brother. But there was also a bunch of dogs on the team too.
Mm-hmm. Moving on to your college career, I know after going in playing Division II and then deciding to take a break and going back to Salisbury and taking a little time off, you ended up going to Towson, making on as a walk-on, and then eventually setting some records and putting up a number of accolades. Going into that season, following your big season as wide receiver, what was the next season like, especially going into competition? I know that there had been changes on the offense a little bit. I believe Coach Ambrose had went to Delaware from the offensive coordinator side. Yeah. What was that adjustment like, especially new offensive coordinator?
So we didn't even bring up a new offensive coordinator. We kind of had to switch things around because Coach Ambrose did know the offense, but pretty much our head coach was going to call the plays, and then we had somebody, kind of doing it as well. But it was the same stuff. I love the way I call him Jammer. I love the way he used to call the offense, and I love the way everybody used to call the offense. It was a little change, just going from one to the other. They both have, crazy football minds that you gotta respect. But it was a little change. But I had a great receiver coach who was Coach Harper. He, with Justin Harper, he played in the NFL for a little bit and played with Virginia Tech. He kept the whole receiver room pretty much, level-headed. His biggest saying was never be too high with the highs, never be too low with the lows. So, just having him there and then having, the surrounding coaching staff, losing a coach like Jared Ambrose was tough, but we definitely, we tried to make it up in every bit we did. And having Tom Flacco as quarterback, and great leader, you can't beat that. So we were figuring it out every week, but it was a good way to play in it.
Yeah, I know you mentioned Tom Flacco, and you talk about, and we know his older brother Joe, and he had another brother Mike who played minor league baseball for the Shorebirds, and then ended up trying to go to the NFL as a tight end as well. That's pretty athletic genes in his family, not even just beyond the quarterback side, but just being able to be able to play multiple sports. He had to have it in his genes.
Yeah, exactly. No, and he showed it every day. I remember one of the first times we were talking, I was like, we were in the training room and he had just came in, and he had probably been there for a while. And we were like talking. I was like, yeah, I don't know how I came up. I was like, yeah, if I want to go to the NFL, I'd be fine if they, team picks me up, undrafted free agent, or I just get like a tryout, a mini camp invite or something. He said, why would you ever say something like that? You're not shooting to be an undrafted free agent. You're shooting to get drafted. You want to be a first round draft pick, second round draft pick. And I was like, no, that's the way to look at it. As I did, go undrafted, but, that changed my mindset. I didn't want to go undrafted anymore. I wanted to get drafted. And that kind of makes you, it makes you work a little harder and just change your mindset of things. And, Tom just had that confident swag and, that, and he showed it on the field every week. So, he had that it to him.
Your senior season, 12 receiving touchdowns, setting a single season record for Towson, a huge upswing, 5 more touchdowns in the previous year. What was the key to having such a big year offensively, especially with the touchdowns? I know yards, sometimes yards can fluctuate from year to year, but everybody's looking at getting in the end zone, and you did it more often than really any other receiver in Towson history.
I would say just coaches giving me chances and Tom trusting me when I was given those chances. We we worked hard on the field in the off season after practice and everything like that. So we had trust. I think he knew whenever the play was going to be called, he could just look up and know where I was. And I knew what he was thinking. He knew what I was thinking. So that helped out a lot. And, just coaches trusting me in the red zone and in certain places where I could score, just, getting the ball in my hands. And I did the best I could with it.
Again, and looking back at your Towson experience, especially having the opportunity to get there as a walk-on and then end up earning a scholarship and doing all that stuff, really, how was the best way to sum up that experience playing at Towson, playing in the CAA, setting records, and going by some of the stats? You are 3rd in receiving touchdowns, 8th in receptions, and 10th in receiving yards.
Yeah, I mean, it was surreal because I got there and I didn't know if I would. I pretty much just got there and wanted to prove to myself that I could play. I didn't care about anything else. It was just about me going there and proving to myself that I worked hard enough because, like you said, I went to Warwick for a little bit and I would work out some days and I'm like, I don't know if I'm doing the right workouts. I don't know if I'm working hard enough, but I just knew I was going to work hard every day. So I just did that. And then when I went out there, I just wanted to prove to myself that I was good enough. And, after one practice in the spring, my first spring there, my coach, Jared Ambrose, he came up to me and he said, you got to stop doubting yourself. You're good enough to play with these guys. And after that, it kind of everybody, I had people, even other players coming up to me and saying, how good I was and things like that. And that kind of, that's what it did to me. And just, I would walk out to practice sometime and just be amazed that I was in that position because, I was just a kid that wanted a shot pretty much. And I made the most of it. I tried to, and coaches gave me the opportunity to make most of it. And I had teammates that trusted me, and that put it all together for me. Kind of made it easy,
What was your strength as a receiver? Was it your speed? Was it your ability to run routes? Was it the hands to you? What made you special and dangerous as a receiver?
Probably my quarterback, Tom Flacco. He was dangerous. He made me dangerous. That's like I don't know if it was anything. I could get open, but Tom used to do the craziest things with the ball and just he'll find you and he'll end up finding you. And it just makes you look like such a better player, and the confidence that he had rubbed off on all the receivers. And I had a great coach as a receiver coach, and he taught us every route, getting on defenders' toes and just getting open. And I found my way to be open a lot, but Tom, I wouldn't, even if, you see guys get open all the time. If you don't have a quarterback to find you, you ain't going to be no good. And Tom was definitely, a big part of the reason I feel like I had such a successful career there.
What kind of offense would you say that Towson run? Was it really more of an explosive aerial attack, or was it more of a mix? I know it had to be a lot different than what was run in Delmar.
It was, night and day with what was ran in Delmar, but I feel like it was more of a mix, especially it depended on who we played, where we thought our strengths would be that week and where we were. But, I like to think we were a passing offense because I was receiver. So that's what I told myself. But we had a great running back in Shane Simpson and Needy. So, I mean, we had a balanced attack, with some of the best athletes all over the field. So it was kind of, it was pick and choose what you wanted to do.
And then following your career, your amazing career at Towson, I know the next step was looking at playing professionally. And when the opportunity came up, especially the NFL draft, I know the pandemic started rearing its head in January of 2020, late January, early February, early March. How did that impact at least opportunities to do scouting combines and things like that for you?
Oh yeah, it affected a lot. We didn't have a actual pro day at Towson, so a lot of the time, smaller school guys get that chance because you can run that fast 40 or run, jump really high. And that's what me and my agent were talking about. Like, you got to run this, you got to jump this. And we didn't get the chance to do that. We didn't get the chance to, and it's not just me, it's everybody that came out that year. So you just didn't get the same opportunities that some guys got. You didn't get to go to, to little camps or, showcases or anything like that the scouts were going to be at. Teams couldn't invite you in to show what you had. And also the teams just didn't take in as many players, So usually I think they take in like 120. I think they started off at 90 and they only brought in 90 guys. So it was a lot different. I think a lot more people from Towson should have got a shot and other schools should have got a shot and would have got a shot if it was a normal year. But, it was a different year. You got to control what you can control, like I said. And that was the year we had, and it is what it is. But, that it did change a lot. And it was, it was a lot different.
You mentioned your agent. What was that process like, hiring an agent and things like that? What did you look for in an agent to that really was a key attraction?
Honestly, I didn't have many agents reaching out to me, but Skidder Ellis, Alex Ellis, he's from Delmar. He's been in the league for a while, and he reached out to me one time. He said, Shane, if you don't have anybody else, I got this. I got my agent. He said he'll connect with you. And I was like, shoot, he got you there. Not saying that he shouldn't have been there, or anything like, but he got him there. He's kept him in there. You know, he was a walk-on. He's the reason, you know, a lot of people from Delmar got hope, and I was one of those people that watched him. So I was like, man, if you give me a chance of getting your agent, I'm definitely taking him. And we were on the phone, talked for about an hour, and he talked the talk. And if you can talk it to me, you can talk it to a coach or a scout. And I knew he had the connects that I would need to get to the next level. And it definitely paid off. And he's definitely a big reason why I got that shot, you know, that I did.
And then I know one of the things, you had the opportunity to sign with the Arizona Cardinals. What was that whole process like and how did you get the call that the Cardinals were interested in bringing you in for camp?
Yeah. So the whole process, you know, you got teams calling you, asking what's going on and just seeing how everything's going. And a lot of times it's the team that doesn't call you that picks you up. And I didn't really talk to Arizona much before, you know, that time. And my, they called me. It was like 30 minutes or so after the draft. And they were like, you know, we want you on our team, and we're interested. We can't wait to have you on the thing. And I was so thrown off. I was like, this must be a joke or something. And he was like, call your agent, call me back, and then let's talk. And so I hung up, called my agent, and he was like, yes, what are you doing? Tell him you're signing. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. So I called him back. I'm like, yeah, I'm happy to go. I'm sorry. I didn't think it was real. I'm like, all right, well, this happened. And I mean, it was just a crazy experience. You know, it's something you think about all your life pretty much. You know, growing up, I'm telling myself I'm going to the NFL or NBA. And then, you know, when I went and I transferred schools, it kind of, my dream kind of dwindled a little bit. And then I doubted myself and I didn't know what was happening. And then things kept getting better. I was like, you know what? I might have a shot. And it's a lot harder than people think to get there. And I'm blessed that I even got the opportunity. You know, I wish it could have went better. But, you know, the fact that I was there was just, you know, it was surreal. And it was something that phone call was something I'll never forget.
And I always hear some of those stories about, oh, okay, somebody's playing around with them, someone messing with them.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is a joke. It's like, this ain't the time to joke with somebody, especially when their potential livelihood is on the line. But I know you mentioned going into camp. What was that experience like? When did you head out there? And if you could take me and I guess all the listeners through what that whole process was like.
Oh, it was so, you know, it was COVID year, so it was a lot different than other years. We didn't go to like a rookie mini camp. We didn't go to everything we had was on Zoom. So we were on Zoom for about I think it was about 4 or 5 months, you know, just meetings every day. And they focus on the smallest things in the meeting. You think maybe you think when you get to the NFL or whatever, you're going to talk about all this stuff. We would talk about pretty much the top of the route, which is how you stop in a route. We talk about that every day, little by little. And just being in those meetings, you figure out how much the little things matter in football. And in college, you focus on little things. But the craziest thing to me, when we were in a meeting one time, a Zoom meeting for an hour, talking about a 5-yard slant route and the different ways you can run it, different defense to run it on. But a 5-yard slant, we talked about it for a whole hour. You know, on Zoom. It wasn't like we had one on, you know, we were running routes. Everybody got a chance and he would correct everything. But we were just talking about a slant route, watching film, talking about a slant route for 1 hour. And I was like, this detail stuff that's how you go far. That's how you get places. Just focus on the detail. Some people think a slant route is just taking 3 steps and, you know, cutting in a diagonal angle. But it's 20, 30, 40, 50 different ways to do it and what defense to do it on and how to do it and what technique to use. And every route is like that, but an hour long for a slant route, it was crazy. And you're taking notes the whole time because you're learning the whole time. It's not like it's just, you know, it's nothing that they're feeding you. It's you're getting good information. That is going to help you. You're going to beat a defense like that. But yeah, just doing that. And then we ended up going out there to Arizona. I guess a little bit before that we were supposed to start, you know, practicing, and we went out a week before we had quarantine. We weren't allowed to meet as a team, so we were, you were able to go out and work out and run around and stuff like that before, not with coaches or anything like that. And then you were in Zoom meetings in a hotel, Zoom meetings in a hotel, Zoom meeting. And then for me, the day we had physicals, I had my first day of physical. Everything, can't much go wrong with a physical unless you're a lot banged up. Then we had our physical. Then I went home, went to the hotel, came back the next day, and got a tap on my shoulder, and they brought me upstairs. Me and pretty much 9 other guys. They had to go from 90 players on the roster to 80 before we were able to start practice because of the new COVID rule. And I got the tap on my shoulder, was told to come upstairs, and had to talk, and was on the flight home. But the whole experience was, it was pretty amazing. I learned a lot. A lot of people are like, why aren't you mad? Like, it didn't only happen to me. If I had, gotten to practice or something like that, I would have been different. But, I look at it as maybe I could have done something different in college. Maybe I could have done something different. I knew the playbook, full front and back, like the back of my hand. And so I was prepared in that aspect. But, I look at it as maybe I could have done something different in, before then in college to make them keep me, to maybe be a draft pick, so. But either way, it was a great experience.
Did they pay for your flight and everything back up to and from?
Oh yeah, they were paying us. You get, I think you got money every day, and then they pay for your flight there. They pay for your flight home. So yeah, it was all paid for. They don't do you that dirty.
Oh yeah, I was just always thinking like in the movie Major League where Willie Mays Hayes just fakes his way onto the roster. All of a sudden he gets cut. They put his bed outside of the practice facility, and next thing you know, as soon as they start doing the wind sprints, he just beats everybody there. That's what I'm thinking. Man, that'd be the worst way. You have to pay your way out there, and all of a sudden, and like, nope, sorry, you gotta go, and then you got to pay your way back.
Thank goodness they didn't do that. No, they paid for it home. So it was a long flight, but it was a good experience. I can't be mad at them. They gave me a chance, and they made my dream come true pretty much. The real dream was to play in the NFL, but getting that call was a step in the right direction. I wish it went better or different.
On the flight back, was there thoughts like, okay, this isn't the end? This, they're just hoping there's another shot. And I know that, like you said, that season was a little more bizarre. Normally they have a larger number of people, and you would have had the opportunity to get in there and be able to show what you could do. But again, things were just so odd because of the uncertainty and everything going on with the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, the flight home, guys that I even got cut with, you see them getting signed, a couple of days later, but you see your name on Twitter, like wide receiver Shane Leatherbury's been cut, and it's like, dang, man, this is, it's a different feeling. It's indescribable. My mind was kind of empty at the time because I didn't really know what was next. I was upset. I thought that everything was set. I was just ready to practice, ready to play, ready to show what I can do. And if I wasn't good enough, I wanted to be released. But if I was good enough, I wanted to be able to play. But I didn't get the chance to even, measure up versus those guys. But yeah, it was just a weird feeling. I was like, I'm hoping I'm getting a call. My agent's, working for me, and we're trying to figure out what's next. But, that call came about a year later, and it was from a different league. But, it's that ride home and that flight home, and then the next couple of days, weeks, months is kind of weird because everybody's like, what are you doing home? What are you this and that? And, your parents are like, man, it's all right, But, it's things that you can't control, and that just control what you can control.
How did you keep yourself ready, especially for the call? And then you got the opportunity to get a call from the CFL as well.
Being surrounded by the right people. I think I mentioned on the last episode, my boy Terrell Jones, he would always stick around, be with me. He wanted to work out. When I didn't want to work out, he'd work out. Like, there's going to be another call coming. It's not just this one and done deal. It's going to be another one coming. And he went through the craziest stuff, injuries, and he's been through a lot of trial tribulation. And he was coming to me like, man, you got a shot. And he always was telling me like, you do this and somebody else is going to see it. And you've inspired me. And that's like, it keeps you going, just having friends around like that to run routes, to lift weight with you, throw the ball, just play catch, just keep you up, keep your heart into it, and that was a big deal. At first you're like, dang, but as soon as you get home, like either you're gonna get to work or you're gonna give up. And it was get to work for me.
I know you talk about all the positive influences that you had. Did you ever have to worry about this time where you had to cut off the negative influences and the hangers on and things like that? Did that actually happen? I know, especially going from high school, being star quarterback, star basketball player as well, and then going to the college ranks. Did you have to feel like you had to cut people loose, or was that something you didn't have to experience?
I don't think I really had to experience it. I was always pretty much surrounded with good people, so if it was, somebody negative or something like that, I never really let them that close to me. So it was more of keeping them out instead of letting them in and cutting them off. It was like, you're not, they weren't around in the first place. So everybody that I was surrounded with was kind of, they were solidified in it,
Mm-hmm. Going to your experience in the CFL, what was that like? And I know you mentioned a year later you got that call. How did that all go down?
That was a lot different. The game's a lot different, but the call was pretty much the same. It was still a weird time with COVID. You kind of didn't know what was going on. We were in Zoom meetings. We still had to quarantine when we got there, which Canada's quarantine is a lot more serious than ours. I was sitting in my dorm room and could not see anybody pretty much for 7 days, and it was crazy. I was like itching. We were doing workouts in the dorm, and you're kind of like itching to get out, and it feels weird, it's a lot different of that. But that whole call, got talked to the receiver coach and learned a lot from them when I was there and everything like that. But it was, that was a great experience as well. A lot different game, same game, but a lot of different stuff that you see a lot of differences, and you see why you can like it more. It's a lot more offensive driven than it is here. So,
did you already have a passport ready, or did you have to go through that whole process to get one?
Actually, I did have a passport because I think I went on a trip to like somewhere, and my parents just got me the passport for a trip. So I had the passport already, at least, so I didn't have to go out and get that.
Yeah, because I know, especially that whole process. I mean, even to get one back, not even expedited, expedited is probably 4 or 5 weeks. And then I know just even renewing one can be a hassle. And that took almost about the same time, a month or so. I mean, I guess it's easier renewing a passport than it is just trying to get it all together for the first time, because as you can notice at most pharmacies, the camera for the passport is like the ice cream machine at McDonald's. They're always broke sometimes,
exactly.
Especially when you need them.
Yeah, exactly. And it was especially during COVID, everything was kind of getting delivered slow. And I knew people like, I don't have my passport yet. And it was like 2 days before we leave. I'm like, how's that going to work? And then I had my passport, but the whole way you're like, all right, you got your passport? Your passport's right there. And your mom, dad texts you, you got your passport, right? Yeah, I got my passport. You got your positive, you got your negative COVID test, right? Yep. Yes. You got your vaccine card. Yep. So it was a lot, it was a lot you had to check for, and a lot you had to make sure you had. But, so the vaccine was a lot. I think they wanted everybody pretty much to get the vaccine, or you had to do something different. And, vaccine, negative COVID test, getting COVID tests every day, passport, it was a lot of stress on your head pretty much to you just wanted to play, you just want to get out there and play football. And it was a lot.
Mm-hmm. You don't mind me asking, but I mean, were you any a bit hesitant when it came to getting the vaccine? I know there's always people out there that have their preferences and their thoughts on that, but was there any initial hesitancy, or I mean, was there just something that like, okay, I had to get this, especially not even counting, okay, a potential chance in my career it can hang on the line getting a vaccine or not?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get it up until the time, and they said, you need the vaccine, but I didn't have any problem with getting it. If scientists are saying it's good and it's a lot of stuff going on with it and whatnot, once they said you needed it to play or it's going to give me a better shot at playing, I was getting that vaccine, because maybe I would make the team over an unvaccinated receiver or unvaccinated, gunner on punt. I was getting the vaccine pretty much just to help my chances out of playing. So I wasn't hesitant once they put it on there, and I didn't. It was never anything to me. I didn't have any issue with it.
Mhm. Yeah, I always tell people I was gonna wait till later in the year, like especially start of the new year, because I always saw vaccines were like the iPhone. Like I'm gonna wait till the newer version comes
Yeah.
out just to make sure that no glitches or anything like that. But then when my daughter was born, I had to be required to at least have the shot because they won't let you in then the delivery room if you don't have it. So that was my thing. I ended up started taking that in November, and then no, actually October, and then got my second one in November just to make sure. I mean, of course, I didn't have to worry about it till January, but still, it was better for me to get it done and all that stuff. And again, everybody has their own preference. That it's cool, whatever what people believe, as long as people just got to remember that the key is being considerate to others' opinions, and that's the big issue. That has not been something we've seen. You can go anywhere on social media or just even on TV, just seeing how the level of consideration to other people's feelings and opinions are different, and that that can be a complete mess.
Yeah, that's the truth. I agree with you there. You just agree to disagree sometimes, a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
As my dad once told me, less said is best said.
When it came to the CFL experience, I mean, how did that go? What did you get into any exhibition games or anything along that line, or how did it all go?
No, I didn't make it there. I showed up. I had my hamstring was kind of messed up already, and then one practice I pulled it, and I just pretty much couldn't go anymore. But the same thing happened. Went through some practices, a couple weeks, and then got released as well. So it was just another learning experience. Learned a lot on the field and plays, and you watch waggles and you watch all the motions, and it's a totally different game. And special teams, there's different rules on returning punts and rules on the halo that they call it in punt return, and just a bunch of different stuff to learn. So it was a learning experience as well. And football is just a good learning tool for life. Everybody knows football is not going to last forever, but the things you learn playing football last forever, and any sport really, but football ultimately I feel like is the one where you can really take all those lessons and make a life out of it.
Mm-hmm. Are you still openly pursuing a professional football career? I know there's situations where you've seen. I remember the guy Michael Lewis, the beer man, was the punt returner on the Saints and things like that. He was still going, trying at it at 27, 28 and things like that. Or even we just talk about Vincent Moley, the invincible guy, especially things like that. Are you still pursuing football right now, or is that sort of on the back burner?
It's on the back burner, but I'm trying to get back. I'm getting back into it. I'm trying to see. Because they're starting up a bunch of leagues that have a bunch of talented players in it. So I'm like, maybe I can just try it. But, I'm selling cars right now at Poinka Toyota. So if you need one, come see me, guys. Poinka Toyota. Just a little plug there. But yeah, right now I work a lot, so it's hard to get in there. But if you're dedicated to it, you're gonna get it done. So I've been, getting into it, trying to find people. I got there's a jug machine, so I try to use that as much as I can, so I can catch balls, catch passes, and just trying to get back into it. Maybe try to prove to myself that I can still play, just so I. But I don't want to feel like I'm doing it for somebody else. I want to make sure I'm doing it for me.
When you saw those leagues like the AAF and the XFL the second time coming back around, were you thinking at that time, okay, here's more opportunities, especially with those things? And then, of course, either money or the pandemic sort of pulled those things to a halt. I mean, were those things to see those people who want to still get that opportunity to play, even if it isn't at the NFL or the CFL level? I mean, what were your thoughts on those leagues?
I think those leagues are great. I don't want it to be a whole bunch where they kind of like drown each other out and people don't know which one to watch. But I think they're great because, the NBA has the G League now. It was the D League. They got the G League. You can go overseas. But football doesn't really have that, that league that you can be in and still be playing and making a living, making at least some type of money and, have the shot of making it to the next level, So I think it was a great thing to do, and I think it's going to be a great thing to do, and I think it'll be a great thing, like right now, off-season football, people are watching it. People are tuning in, and it's great talent. It's not like it's, a bunch of people just putting on helmets and playing. They're just big-time players. They just didn't get that call, even if it was COVID or just great players go overlooked every year in the draft. So it's great football, and I think it's going to be big in the future,
Mm-hmm. And I know, especially playing football, high school football in Delaware, playing and then being from the Eastern Shore of Maryland. We see a lot of talent in those areas, and it seems like, well, maybe the further north you look, those guys in northern Delaware tend to get more opportunities to get there. But then we look on the Eastern Shore, and it's like, okay, why aren't these guys getting those opportunities? Like, you can see plenty of people from over the years. Doesn't matter. DeMonte Dodd playing basketball at Maryland. Andre Collins, someone who I interviewed recently, played at University of Maryland, played at Loyola, played internationally, and things like that. Hunter Parsons playing baseball for the Mets and things like that. What do you feel like is just something that, unfortunately, those kids who play on the Eastern Shore, who play a high level, don't get overlooked? Or
I definitely, in a sense, I do. I know that they say that they're going to find you. If you're good, they're going to find you. They are going to find you, but sometimes they turn on that film and they, I had even coaches that at Towson, they were like, man, you were playing against Pop Warner kids, like joking around and stuff like that. But it's like they don't think the talent's the same. So a lot of the kids around here are going across the bridge to get, recruited. And they, I guess some of the coaches over there have more connects, but our coaches over here are working harder every year. I think we're getting better. We're getting more connects at our high schools around here. And I think it's going to be a lot better because, like you said, it's a bunch of talent on the Eastern Shore. It's just, is somebody going to be here to spot it? And if you got the right people coaching the kids that's going to get their name out there, that's the big key, just having those connections with, college coaches. I don't think it's about what or, sometimes it's not about how good you are. It's about who you know. So a lot of the kids around here are, are on in the path of the right direction. I even have, some coaches asking me about players from around here. So I think, just hopefully I'm helping them out, because I'm putting all good information because I want the coaches to come here. I want the next generation to – clearly they're going to be better than me, and I want them to be better than me. I think it's going to be big.
And I know you mentioned, like you said, sometimes the talent level can be a disqualifier. I will, without using names of people, I remember covering a game, particularly against a guy who was probably the best high school, one of the best high school players in the Bayside South. I saw him single-handedly basically keep his team in the game in the state semifinal. I mean, people read between the lines and they might know who this is. I'm sitting in next to a scout from a Division I school, and they said, I don't think he's got it. The height, his shot is a little shaky, but the thing is, you couldn't question his ability to win. Unfortunately, he never got that opportunity to show it. But I still think sometimes, as you mentioned, sometimes the talent level, sometimes where you're at, it can be a disqualifier, even if you know that you can walk the walk and talk the talk at a particular level.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, we can't control who we're playing against. We can just control what we do with the people we're playing against. And if you see somebody dominate, just give them a shot. Like I went to a D2 school and ended up walking on, but I got a shot. Just give people a shot. And that's why people are forced to go across the bridge from here because they're facing bigger guys, better talent, 3-star, 4-star guys. And you're forced to go across the bridge to get those college looks, to get play against people that are, I guess, respected by coaches. And I know it's good football over there. I'm not saying it's not, but I'm just saying the football, basketball, the sports over here are good too. And, we got players over here too.
And as we start wrapping up the football part and we talk about what you've done post-football, what is the biggest lesson that you've taken from this experience playing football?
I think the best thing I was taught, what I say, control what you can control. My coach, Justin Harper, he said it every day pretty much, and it's just stuck in my head. If you don't worry about nothing else, just control what you can control, and nothing can go wrong. If you're worried about something you can't control, then you're done. You're never going to be able to change it. And also a thing that I learned in a meeting one time, one of the coaches or something, he said, the opportunity of a lifetime is seized in the lifetime of opportunity. And that was something, big that stuck with me as well, because you're not going to get a second chance at it. You just got the span that opportunity is there. And then once it's gone, it's gone. And just everything that you learn playing, just lessons of don't worry about the last play. Don't worry about this play right here. Don't worry about if you're going to get the ball next play. You drop the ball, forget about it. Short memory. You score a touchdown. Don't go out there and be cocky next time. Short memories. You just forget about it and go play the next play. That goes along with never be too high with the highs, never be too low with the lows.
Then you moved on. You mentioned coming back to Salisbury and working at Pohanka. How did you get involved into that? And what is that like selling cars? I mean, you have to have a personality and outgoing nature that helps you react and interact with people. But how did you get involved in that? And how did you find that path?
Actually, I was there after I got released from the Cardinals as well. I was there for a little bit, and then I went to Canada. So the owner is actually a kid named AJ Angelo. His mom is the owner, and I went to high school with him, and I just went to him one day. I was like, man, I could try to be a car salesman. And I went there and I was like training, and they were giving me a flexible schedule, and it was, it's a lot of fun. It's good money. It's just a lot of hours, you just got to be able to put the work in. And the managers there, Thurman, Will, Rick, Ryan, I mean, they make it like sports. They make you compete. You compete with everybody. You compete with yourself, and so it's a lot like sports. And every day you pretty much you're just chasing another sale, and you just want another sale. You want to help a family. Get into a car, help out their situation better, give them a car they can afford at, a good price. And it's just helping people and just competing,
What would you say is, I guess, the biggest misconception about being about selling cars, being a car salesman? I know that I've known some people who've gotten into it and done it, and just for them, it wasn't the ideal fit for them.
A lot of people think that we're just a bunch of liars, that we're trying to help out families. If we're trying to, you're really just trying to help people out. That's the way that I look at it. And I think the best salesmen are the ones that are real, and keep it real with you. So I think that's the best way to do it. Also, I did coach at Salisbury University this past year.
Okay.
Was there. So we won their conference, and that was a big learning experience because you go from being a player to being a coach. And you learn a lot in that, and it's a big learning experience, especially from being on the staff instead of being with players. That was big too.
Can we let's double back to the SU experience? I know they always say sometimes the most helpless feeling in the world is coaching, because while you may have the knowledge and you may have the experience doing that stuff, you can no longer you're not on the field. You're just hoping that the wisdom you imparted to those people actually that it registers in them and that they're able to execute.
Exactly. Like one of my coaches in college, Coach Lima. I'm just name dropping. He used to say you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to the level of your training. So every day, you're just trying to train these guys, pretty much see what you see on film of the team you're watching this week. Say they're going to play this technique. This player's going to play this technique. This is how you're going to beat it. Once you do this, he's going to move that way. And you're just trying to break it down to them just so when they get in this situation, they're going to know what to do. And then, if it goes wrong or something goes wrong, you're like, what can I do different? Every week you're like trying to figure out what you can do differently. And it was my first year coaching, so I'm trying to learn from other coaches and see how they do it and how they teach. And it was a big learning experience, and it was a lot of fun though.
And then again, going back to your experience at Pohanka and things like that, what was your busiest day ever like?
It's so many busy days, but it's days where you got people coming back, for maybe like a temp tag or, something like that. And you got to help them. You got to put the tag on for them, or they just got their hard tags. You got to put that tag on. And then somebody wants to look at a car. And so you got to run, and sometimes you can't find the car. You're out there clicking the horn. You can't find it. And then you got another, person there. You're trying to get them to the right payment they want to be at. And they're right here. And you're like, all right, I got that for you. Just give me 1 second. Let me deal with them. And then you're going back and forth. And then sometimes you just got, it's hard days, and you might have something going on with the manager or something like that. And it's busy days out there. Even it can be a day that you get 0 sales, but you got a lot of stuff going on that you got to get done. And it's a lot. It's 9 to 8, it's 8 to 8. And you think about it every day. You get a couple of days, you get 1 day off a week, and then Sundays, and you're never truly off because you got customers that that need you every day. So
I guess, like I said, you talk about it sometimes the 11 to 12 hour day. How does the mental exhaustion compare to the physical exhaustion that you have to go through, especially following a game?
It's a lot, and it doesn't seem like a lot. You kind of got to find your balance. And for a while, I wasn't taking my day off, so I was just taking Sundays off. And still, sometimes I do that and people do it, but you need those days off, and you realize how important they are, and it'll stress you out. Like, you'll go home, and it's a lot like if I were to drop a pass, if I was to pretty much, if I'm talking to somebody and I didn't do something that I should have done, and I'll think about it, that night, and it'll wake me up. I was waking up like 4 a.m. thinking about something like I could have said this to, them, and they would have understood what I was saying. It's stuff like that, it'll keep you up at night, and it'll stress you out just because I'm, coming from football. You want to make every play. I want to make every sale. I want to help every customer. So I think that's a big thing. Just the stress was crazy even when you left work.
Did the pandemic hurt the car sale industry? I mean, did you notice that at all? Especially like I said, once you came back, the pandemic, people weren't going out as much. People weren't buying cars. There were fewer cars available and things like that. Did you notice that impact, or it always seems like, as we learned when I was a newspaper reporter, the national trend was the exact opposite of the trend on the Eastern Shore. So either, like I said, for example, when I started working in 2008, when the economic downturn occurred, basically everybody else nationwide was getting hit hard. Eastern Shore wasn't getting hit hard yet, but things like that.
It's pretty much the same thing with the cars. The only thing is you just got to find, if a customer comes in looking for a certain car, but as you said, inventory's down, you got to find ways to, well, what do you really need? What do you really want? And you'll find a car that fits their needs, and then they never considered, but they're like, wow, I do love this car, and they're a lot happier with that car than they would have, maybe the other car, and they take that car and they love it. So it's, it's just about finding out what people want and what people need. So it hurt the inventory, but I think it's still, if you got the right people around you, you figure out ways around it.
Now, I don't know if this would be considered a trade secret or not, but what's the car that you've seen that people have been the most interested in, especially as of late?
Right now with gas prices, any hybrid, hybrid SUV, hybrid cars, electric cars, those are definitely the biggest that I've seen. They don't really care about, people walk in and say, what hybrids do you have? What hybrids can I drive right now? And I think that's the biggest thing. That's the trendiest car right now.
Yeah, because I've been hearing different things, minivans, all this other stuff. It's like, you never know. It all depends. People need the space. I mean, either need the storage space, people need the seat space, and that's always one of those things. You never know.
Yeah, I think the hybrid SUV is probably the best, because people want that space but still want that, high 30 and 40 mile per gallon gas range.
Well, Shane, I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. And I know things have been crazy. We've been trying to get this going for a while, and I'm glad to be able to do this. Before we start wrapping this up, do you have any shout outs you want to give to anybody, and anything you want to promote as well?
Yeah, shout out to my mom, dad, as always. My mom, hope you're proud of me. Come see me at Poinka Toyota. Come check me out. I'll get you in a car, lower your interest rate. The slogan's changed. I hope, this. I'm hoping to get back on the field and, see how it goes. But as of right now, come see me. I want, it's hard switching your pride up, going from, football player and whatnot to, a car salesman and promoting it, and, people ask you questions like, what I thought you were playing football, this and that. But I want you to come see me. I want you to help me out, and I'll help you out. So.
And it's interesting. You do see a lot of pro athletes end up going into the car sale the car sale industry. I mean, it doesn't seem like that's a huge leap for a lot of pro athletes. There's always competition, as you mentioned as well. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's too difficult of a transition. It's not like you're going into starting a restaurant or anything like that.
Exactly. As long as you can talk to people, that's why a lot of players join sales, because you're used to being around a team. You're on the sales floor, you got a team there, and then real estate or, sales in any aspect, digital sales, tech sales. It's a grind, and you got to work hard. You get rewarded, so I think a lot of people like it because, it's no cap to how much money you can make. You can sell a bunch of cars, you can sell a bunch of houses, so you reap the rewards of how hard you work.
Are you still even thinking about, like I said, journalism and broadcasting? I know that you majored in that and you did your stint at WMDT and things like that. Has that still crossed your mind as well?
It has. I'm still thinking about it and figuring out, if I want to do it, but I leave it to the professionals like you.
Thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it. What we're going to do is once we finish up, we'll talk a little off air. But for everybody who's been watching, I really appreciate Shane Leatherbury taking time out of his schedule to do this. And tomorrow we're going to do a double duty live stream. We're going to talk to Jordan Levere, a former High basketball player, former High football player. Then we'll be talking to former Delmar Shorebirds front office member Brandon Burns. So we're going to be super busy tomorrow as well, from 5 to 8, getting as many interviews in as possible. Again, for my guest, Shane Leatherbury, who is tonight's guest. And again, once we get this out, everybody will know, and we're gonna promote it all the way to high heaven as much as we can. I am Earl Holland saying thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it, and we'll be back on Monday.